Hello and welcome. This is Professor Farzin from Los Angeles Harbor College. I wanted to make this brief video to show you around the class so that you can have smooth sailing throughout the rest of the term. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and go to this web address, which is the web address for our Canvas classroom. You go to ilearn.laccd.edu. You probably know how to do that, but just in case, when you do, it'll bring you to this login scenario. Go ahead and put in your information. Usually it'll be your student email and a password you've chosen. Go ahead and sign in and log into our class. Now, please don't pay any specific attention to the exact titles, etc. Here, your class may be a different class, but the structure will be the same for all my classes. So this video will be applicable. So what you're going to find here is going to be our entire class laid out very simply. Now, as you can see in our home page, this is the collapsed view. Now I'm going to actually change over to the student view so that it will look even more like yours. All right, so this should be very similar to what you will see. Now, this is basically the collapsed view of our modules. If you want to see all of them expanded, you could click on this expand all, and suddenly all of them will be expanded. Now, I've tried to make navigation as simple as possible for you and just getting through the entire term as simple as possible. Up here, you'll see what's called Essential Files and Links module. This is going to be there all term long, okay? It has information relevant to the whole term, so these are not going anywhere. So the first item you'll see here is the pre-opening email. This should be an email that you should have received from me by a couple of days before class starts. Whether this applies to you or not, just remember, a couple of days before class starts. This, of course, is the video you're watching right now. Next, you'll find the syllabus, which is a mandatory read. Please make sure to open that and read the whole syllabus. I'm not going to do the repeat job for you here because you know how to do that. Notice that in the PDF viewer on Canvas, you can click that double arrow right there and it'll go to full screen. And you won't see the controls now, but you'll click the same thing on the top right to come back to partial screen. And you can make the text larger or smaller as you need, etc. So you'll find some information in here that will be applicable to the entire term. So all the class policies and expectations are in here, as well as the breakdown for the grades, etc. So please take the time to read through the entire document. And at the end, you'll find the daily agenda, which has basically everything that you need to know for the entire term, all the way to the final exam, okay? So at any point you want to go back to our home page, you just click on home, very simple. And that takes you, so no matter where you're at on Canvas, just click home and you'll come back to the main page. Now here, we'll continue. You'll see MyMathLab registration instructions. These were also in the email that you received from me a couple of days before class starts. So in case you haven't done so already, you need to be signed up for MyMathLab from the very first day of class, okay? And that's where we'll be doing all our tests and homework assignments. Then there's a file called Frequently Asked Questions. Most of you should have seen that in an email that I sent earlier. Please also read through that. It has some very useful information about what our class is about as far as asynchronous is concerned, the meaning of that, and what are the expectations as far as test days, etc. So there's some useful information in that. Make sure you read it. Next is the Academic Integrity Pledge, which I take very seriously, and I hope you will too. Basically realize that by continuing in this class, you agree to abide by this pledge. Then we have the attendance requirements for the class. Please make sure you read that and are aware of it, because inactive students may be dropped at the discretion of the instructor, and I definitely don't want that to happen to you. So please make sure you read through that and you're aware of how much activity you're expected to have. The time calculation will come from a combination of the time you spend on Canvas right here watching the video lectures, which you'll see in a minute, I'm going to introduce to you, as well as the time that you spend on MyMathLab doing homework assignments. So together, they will comprise your total activity in this class. Then you have a test dates and times file, which is for quick reference. Please mark your calendars from the very beginning of the term so that you're aware of those test dates and times before they arrive. I strongly recommend using something like Google Calendar because it's fantastic. It sends you notifications, as often as you like 3 days before, 1 day before, however you like to set it up. I will be sending you reminders as well, but for your own sake, it's good to be aware of these dates. These are the test day reminders and instructions. So on this, every test day, I'll remind you to open this file and read through for instructions on how to take the test. Then you have MyMathLab, MyLab actually, sorry, MathLab. This has nothing to do with the MyMathLab that we do our homework on. This is the actual physical math lab at our library and learning resource center. Here, you will find the schedule for the entire term and also their online schedule. So make sure that you take advantage of the free tutoring that's available to you throughout the term. Here you have the link for Pearson support, okay? So when you click that, it's going to open a new, a window, ask you to open one. Go ahead and open it, because if you run into difficulties with Pearson, they're the best resource for you. I'm not an administrator at Pearson, so there are certain problems I can help you with, but a lot of the problems they will need to make sure that they support you, and they do. They have a very robust support system. So make sure that you contact them. Here, you're obviously going to choose learner, right? And here you're going to be asking for technical support. You can choose your option. This is probably faster if you choose chat or whatever. So you can use either one, and the phone is good too. They can help you on the phone as well. Anyway, so let's say we choose phone. They'll tell you what number to dial, etc. So go ahead and make sure that you use that when you need to. Okay. Now, notice that this daily agenda is the same thing you saw in the syllabus that I showed you. It's the very last page. Now, you may want to either have this downloaded to your device or even printed. That way, you know exactly what's going to be expected each day, and you'll never be out of touch with the class. This is set up and scheduled for you to cover the entire term, okay? Again, these numbers may not correspond to your class, but the basics are the same. You will have a daily agenda which will have the information that you need for the entire term. Let's see. Finally, we get to the juice of the class, which is the lectures and the homework assignments. So on a daily basis, based on your daily agenda, you're going to be watching a lecture, which is the equivalent of coming to class. So this is mandatory. You're expected to do this. This is going to go as a part of your activity log in the class. So make sure, please, that you're watching these on Canvas, because if you go for, these are hosted on YouTube, but if you go and watch it there, it's not going to log as activity hours for you here. So you want to make sure you watch them as they're embedded here. So just click and it'll open. There you go. There's your first lesson, okay? So even though
is undefined.
So I sent you these links before, but that was just before the class started because you didn't have access to Canvas yet. Now that you do, you're only going to watch them here so that you can get credit. Once you finish watching, and I mean interactively, right? So pen and pencil in hand, you participate. Many times throughout many of the videos, I'll tell you to pause the video, try the problem on your own, etc. You'll want to be doing that because that's the only way you're going to gain some benefit from the class, all right? And remember, this has become an increasingly competitive world, and if you really want to get ahead, you really know what you need to know what you're doing. And I know there's a great deal of attitude out there against education right now. Trust me, many of those people will regret later on in life that they didn't take the time when they were young and fresh to get their education. It's, if nothing else for you, it will be a backup plan. Let's say you have designs or plans to do something in business or arts or whatever. That's great, and I encourage you to do that. But in case something doesn't work out in one of those fields, it's always great to have some structure and foundation to fall back onto, which can be beneficial to you as far as getting another job, etc. So no matter what approach you want to take in life, it doesn't mean that you should not complete your education. And remember, there's more to life than just making money. So that aspect of personal development, etc., will come only from really developing your mind, and the most efficient way of doing that is through education. So please make sure that you don't look back. Now that you're here, you've taken a great first step. Don't look back until you see the finish line, which is your degree. All right. So once you're finished with the video lecture, you're just going to click here. It's going to take you to the MyMathLab website. Now, click on that to go ahead and go. Here, you're going to either sign in if you already have a Pearson account, or if you don't, you just sign up as a student, obviously. Once you sign up and you log in, then you'll see our assignments. Now, please make sure, I'm glad this happened to me actually. I just did some refreshing of my browser. If you get this, don't just ignore it. You see that little symbol right there? Go up there, click it, and say always allow pop-ups and redirects from Pearson.com, right? So, and then hit done. Now you can go ahead and close that now and then try again and it'll work, okay? So go ahead and log in with your credentials. Now, Pearson is a private company. They will charge for this, but they do not provide me with any kind of access codes. So I usually get, emails regarding that, and I can just tell you right now, they don't provide me, unfortunately, with any free access codes. So please make sure, if necessary, to contact financial aid regarding this. And also, they offer a 14-day free trial period. If you happen to choose that option, please make sure that before the end of the 14 days that you go ahead and get squared up with them so that you don't lose access to our homework and test system. Many classes use physical textbooks still, which can cost upward of $200. So this is one of our least expensive options, using this MyMathLab, which has a great deal of assistance, as well as the full textbook. If you ever want to supplement what you learn in our class, you just go here and click on e-text contents, click on one of the chapters, and just go ahead and go to the opener, and you'll see the entire textbook is available on our platform. So there is no need to physically purchase a textbook unless, for example, you want to use MyMathLab, and say financial aid doesn't pay for anything but physical textbooks at the time. So you may need to purchase a textbook from the bookstore, and then usually they'll have an insert with an access code which you can use. Okay, but otherwise, if you're going to be paying for it yourself, then there is no need to do any of that. Anyway, here's the entire textbook as it exists in physical form, but here in digital format. And if you want to get a second exposure type of thing to the content of the day, you can always do that. Many students, in all honesty, they usually just watch the lectures and find them sufficient. But in case you need more support, you can always do that. Read the text for that section, and remember, like I said, the entire textbook is there. All right, and then basically though, what you're going to be interested in when you come here is what section you just did. For example, let's say we were on section 1.1, right? So that from once you come in here and log in, remember, let's go to the home page. There's a calendar here that usually shows you the assignments, right? So, but the easiest way is just to click on, you see on assignments on the left here where my hand is, and just click on the set that you want to complete. So here, before you start the class, I strongly recommend you do the chapter O homework if you're not familiar with MyMathLab. It gives you tips for how to use the system. If you already know what you're doing, you can skip that. That's an ungraded assignment, so don't worry. If you know how to do this, you don't need to do it, and it doesn't count against you. All right, and the other assignments that are going to be ungraded are going to be these chapter review homework. They're not graded, but they're highly recommended. I mean, if you want to kind of guarantee yourself an A on the test, pretty much make sure you know how to do the chapter review problems, because I almost never give anything on a test that's not in these chapter review homework assignments. So while they are optional, because I don't want you to have to stress about, because usually they're large assignments, right, compared to a regular homework set, because they have basically problems from each set, right? So I didn't want you to have to stress about completing them. And I want you to be able just to practice the ones you need help with. So that's the other reason I made them on graded assignments. So the chapter O homework, the chapter review homework assignments, and the last type of assignment that's going to be optional and ungraded are going to be the retake tests, okay? Retake tests are optional. If you're happy with your original test, you're not going to have to take the retake. That's the kind of extra credit that I offer are those retake tests. So in fact, every test that you take, except for the final, you'll have a retake opportunity. And please make sure you use that opportunity, because what happens is, as explained in your syllabus, the score of the original test and the retake will be averaged, and the new average will be used for that test. So let's say you have a bad day and say get 50 on a test, right? Well, you go and really study and review, which I show you how to do in the frequently asked questions file. You go review your test, and even though the help system, like help me solve this, or let me show you what I'm talking about. Like in most of the problems in MyMathLab, you're going to have some help available to you. And when I open the problem, if you notice down here, you will see help me solve this, or view an example, or go to the textbook. That just takes you to the place in the textbook where the concept was introduced. Now, these obviously won't be available during a test, right? But when you go to review the test, these become available. So you can figure out what happened and what went wrong on a particular problem that you may have missed, right? And if if it ends up at the end of the term that your grade is in a borderline situation, one of the first things I'm going to be looking at to see whether I should give you the lift for a few percentage points and give you the passing grade or the next higher grade is whether you utilized the retake opportunities or not. Okay, so please take them seriously in that sense. Obviously, if you do really well, 90, 95% on a test, you don't need to do the retake, right? But if you don't do well on a test, you really, really should take advantage of the retakes. It's like throwing away free money if you don't do that, okay? So now, for the first time this term, until this term, I've always averaged the original test and the retake, whether the retake is higher or lower. But to give you an incentive not to be afraid of the retakes and to try them, I'm only going to count the retakes and average them with your original score if you do better on the retake, okay? So you don't need to be worried. If you do worse on a retake, let's say, something happens, you're having a bad day or whatever, and the retake goes worse than the original test, then I will just ignore it and I will leave your test untouched, okay? So you have no reason not to take the retakes, okay? All right, so that's that. So here you just go ahead and solve, then you type your answer here and hit enter, and then it's going to give you instant feedback. Remember how when you were taking math books with just physical textbooks, your teacher always told you, hey, go check your answers in the back of the book, right? Well, guess what? This does that for you. So as soon as you type it in, it's either going to give you like something like a happy face or great job, excellent, etc., or it's going to tell you what's wrong, right? It may tell you this answer is not correct, but usually it'll give you some kind of a tip so you can go and correct it and get the full credit for it. Now, of these assistance options, I really recommend the first one before using anything else, because this is like a good tutor, right? What a good tutor does is the tutor doesn't do the problem for you. They guide you so that you can get the problem on your own, okay? And that's what this one does. And the nice thing about it is if you use it, it'll walk you through the problem till you learn it. Then it'll give you a new problem, which if you then complete, you'll get full credit for. So definitely. Now, this one is not as good. This is more like a bad tutor that just wants to get the problem done for you, right? So not as highly recommended as this one, but this one is really, really highly recommended in case you run into problems. The number one recommendation is, of course, don't use either one of them, and really, really try your best to get to the answer on your own. I mean, if you really want to grow and develop yourself, right? You have to challenge yourself. So the real number one recommendation is your own effort, and don't just quickly give up on a problem. You don't get the right answer the first time, go ahead and see, maybe you made some kind of a minor error or something. Try to get it on your own. But if you really try and you can't, then this guy first. Only if this doesn't quite work out for you would you go to this one, okay? And of course, you can always go to the textbook and reread the section for more support as well, okay? And that's it. And once you're done with the problem, it either automatically goes to the next one, or you can click this arrow and it'll take you to the next one. Or, you don't have to go in a sequential order, either on the homework or on the test. You can just click on 6, for example. Let's say you on number 5, you want to just remember it. So make a note that you're going to go back to 5 and then click on 6, right? And you move on like that. So these do not have to be done sequentially. If you need more space, you can always close that and then open it if you need to. Or if you want a full overview of the homework, you click on those 3 bars and there's the full overview of the entire assignment. Okay? And that's pretty much that. It's very straightforward and extremely helpful. I know students that may have been skeptical at first about using the system, but once they saw that, gosh, this is like having a tutor or a teacher with me the whole time, it's very reassuring. They usually end up loving it by the time they're really finished with it. So the only complaints I've heard about it is from people who don't really use it or know how to use it. The ones who do usually end up loving it. So there you go. All right, and that's basically what you do there. So coming here, what I really and notice that's basically this is going to be what's going to happen every day. You do a lecture, you do the assignment. That's it. And this will take you. Usually, what you'll see is everything from the beginning of a given period to the test time, right? And then the next modules are going to be available right after this test is done. So on the day of that test is when I will release the material for the next couple of weeks, which will be the sections covered, and then it'll take you again all the way to the next test, okay? Now, as far as tests on MyMathLab, remember, they will not show up on your assignments list until the 12 p.m. on the day of your test. Remember, for tests you get a 12-hour period of availability, which is from 12 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. So please be aware of that, and they will not show up before 12 p.m. on the day of the test. So on this test dates and times page, it'll tell you what day, but on that day, remember, they won't show up, the test won't show up until 12 p.m. And that's basically all you need to be aware of. Now, the best way to reach me is to contact me at the email that I've given you in this frequently asked questions file. And you can send me your questions, and if I see that it's a kind of question that lends itself to a very satisfactory explanation through a PDF or something like that, I may just answer it to you like that. If I think it's something that would require more in-depth explanation, then I can always offer you a Zoom session where I can help you live on Zoom. And so here's my email. That's the best way to contact me. I'm pretty responsive to my emails. So go ahead and contact me and we'll set something up. You also have the option of going for a tutoring appointment at the LLRC, and you saw that file that was in our essential files and links module with the information on that, right? So and as far as your overall average, remember, you're not going to see that on Canvas because I did not like the integration of MyMathLab and Canvas, so I've kind of separated them. So you're going to the Pearson site directly. So your homework, your overall average will always be available on the Pearson site, the MyMathLab site, okay? And you will always be able to see it there. So if you run into any kind of questions or problems about any of this stuff, never hesitate to contact me. I enjoy communicating with all of you, so please never ever hesitate contacting me at the email address that you are aware of. So I think that should pretty much wrap things up for us. Make sure that please you get signed up for MyMathLab if you haven't done so right away, so that you do not fall behind. And I look forward to a great term. Again, never hesitate to contact me, farzinr@lahc.edu. Take care and see you soon.